My husband's mistress thought she won, until she walked into a dinner I arranged with her parents, and everything changed that night. I'll never forget the night I realized my husband was cheating. It wasn't a lipstick stain on his collar or the late-night texts he claimed were work emergencies. It was the silence. The way he started avoiding my eyes, the way he hesitated when I asked simple questions. For years, we had shared everything: dreams, frustrations, laughter, even grocery lists. But suddenly there was a wall. I wasn't crazy. I knew there was someone else. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just stress. Maybe the company was pushing him too hard, maybe he was exhausted. But then I found the receipts. Dinner for two at restaurants we had never been to together, hotel charges in the middle of the week, little gifts I had never received. My heart pounded as I pieced it together. The woman's name slipped out one evening when he thought I was asleep. Vanessa. He whispered it on the phone, his voice low, tender in a way I hadn't heard in months. My body froze under the blankets, and in that moment, something in me shattered. The next morning, I smiled at him over breakfast as if nothing had changed. I kissed him goodbye at the door, pretending to be the same loyal wife he thought I'd always be. But inside, my mind was racing. Vanessa thought she had stolen him away. She thought she had won. But she didn't know me. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that revenge tastes best when it's served at the dinner table. And I already had the perfect plan forming in my head. For weeks, I played my part. The trusting wife. The woman too naive to see the truth. He didn't even bother hiding it anymore. Late nights stretched into weekends, and his excuses became sloppy. One evening, when he told me he was working late at the office, I drove by just to check. His car wasn't there. My chest tightened, but my face stayed calm. Instead of confronting him, I started digging. I found her social media. Perfectly curated photos, captions about finding happiness, filtered selfies in restaurants I'd never been invited to. And then I saw something that made me pause: her family. She came from money, from status. Proud parents who posted about their darling daughter every chance they got. That's when the idea clicked. If Vanessa wanted to play the role of the victorious mistress, I would show her exactly how fragile her crown really was. Because I didn't just want to confront her. I wanted to dismantle her illusion, right in front of the very people she wanted to impress most. I reached out to her parents discreetly. A carefully crafted email, polite and professional, explaining that I was arranging a private dinner to celebrate a special family connection. I signed it with my married name, the one she probably hated. To my surprise, they accepted quickly. They were delighted, even. They thought I was including them in some elegant gesture of unity. If only they knew the storm I was preparing to unleash. As the date approached, I set the table in a beautiful private dining room at one of the best restaurants in town. Every detail was perfect: crystal glasses, candles, flowers. And an extra seat waiting for the woman who thought she had won. What Vanessa didn't know was that this dinner would be the end of her fairy tale. The night of the dinner, I dressed with purpose. Not flashy, not desperate, just elegant enough to remind everyone, including my husband, that I was still the wife he had promised forever to. A black silk dress, hair swept into a soft bun, a shade of lipstick he once called his favorite. When Vanessa arrived, she didn't expect me. She walked into the restaurant smiling, clutching her purse, wearing a dress that was a little too bright, a little too eager. But the moment her eyes locked on me sitting at the head of the table, her face drained of color. Behind her, her parents followed, beaming, completely unaware of the trap their daughter had stepped into. "You must be our hostess," her mother said warmly, extending her hand. I took it with a smile, so calm it could have been mistaken for kindness. Vanessa stammered. What is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Oh, just dinner," I said lightly, motioning toward the empty seats. "A chance for families to come together. After all, we're connected, aren't we?" Her father chuckled, oblivious. "That's wonderful. Vanessa told us she'd been spending time with a very special man. We assumed she was keeping him a secret from us. But now," he looked around, expecting introductions. My husband hadn't arrived yet. That was part of the plan. Let her squirm under the weight of her parents' pride before the real show began. I poured wine for her mother, keeping my hand steady, my smile unshakable. Vanessa sat down slowly, her eyes darting between me and the door, as if praying he wouldn't actually walk in. But of course he would, because I had made sure of it. 10 minutes later, the door opened. My husband stepped in, adjusting his tie, looking every bit the man who thought he was in control of the situation. His confident stride faltered the second he saw me at the table, then froze completely when his gaze shifted to Vanessa and her parents. The silence that followed was exquisite. You could feel the air tighten, like everyone had realized they'd walked into the wrong room. Vanessa's mother tilted her head, confused. Her father gave a polite smile, waiting for someone to explain. I broke the silence first. "Darling," I said smoothly, lifting my glass. "So glad you could join us." His jaw clenched, but he sat down. He had no choice. Vanessa looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Her parents, still in the dark, leaned in with cheerful curiosity. "So," her mother began, "is this the man you've been seeing, Vanessa?" My husband choked on his water. Vanessa's face turned crimson. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I leaned forward, my voice gentle, but each word sharp as glass. "Yes, why don't you tell them, Vanessa? Tell them who he is to you." Her father frowned, suddenly serious. "Vanessa, what's going on here?" The mistress stared at me, then at my husband, her lips trembling. For once, she had no rehearsed smile, no confident pose. Just panic. Exactly what I wanted. I let the silence stretch, savoring the way her parents' proud expressions started to crumble. The image of their perfect daughter was collapsing, and I hadn't even revealed the full truth yet. Because this dinner was only getting started. Her mother's fork clinked against the plate as she set it down, her smile gone. "Vanessa," she said firmly, "what does she mean?" Vanessa's lips quivered. "It's not what it looks like," she muttered, her voice cracking. My husband finally spoke, his tone low and defensive. "This isn't the place." I laughed softly. "Oh, I think this is the perfect place. Your mistress and her parents deserve to know exactly who you are to each other." Her father's face reddened. "Mistress." His voice boomed across the table, making other diners glance our way. Vanessa winced, shrinking in her chair. I placed my glass down, meeting their eyes with calm precision. "Yes. While I was at home, his wife, raising our family, and keeping our house together, your daughter was busy convincing herself she had won some sort of prize." Vanessa's mother gasped. "Vanessa, tell me this isn't true." Tears welled in her eyes, but no denial came. Just silence, broken by my husband's sharp whisper, "Enough." I ignored him. You see, she thought she'd stolen him away. She thought this would end with me forgotten, and her crown the victor. But I wanted you, her own parents, to see the truth. To see the kind of man your daughter chose, and the kind of daughter she became in the process. The weight of my words pressed over the table. Her parents looked at Vanessa with horror, disappointment cutting deeper than any insult I could have delivered. And in that moment, she realized she hadn't won it all. Because the people she wanted to impress most were watching her world unravel, one word at a time. Vanessa's mother pressed a napkin to her lips, trembling. "How could you, Vanessa? We raised you better than this." Her father shook his head slowly, disbelief written all over his face. "A married man? With children?" His voice cracked, thick with shame. Vanessa's eyes darted between them and my husband, desperate, searching for an escape. I didn't mean for it to happen," she stammered, her voice barely audible. My husband muttered, "This isn't fair," his jaw tight. But I leaned back in my chair, perfectly composed. Fair? Was it fair when I cooked dinner alone every night? Was it fair when you told me you were working late while sneaking off to her? Don't talk to me about fair. The room was heavy with silence, broken only by the faint clinking of glasses from other tables. Vanessa's mother suddenly stood, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I can't even look at you," she whispered, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. Vanessa reached out for her hand, but her mother recoiled as if burned. That rejection hit harder than anything I could have planned. Her father turned to my husband with steel in his eyes. "And you're nothing but a coward. You sit here and let her take the blame when you're just as guilty." For once, my husband had no clever defense. He sat in silence, his face pale, his pride stripped bare. I folded my hands, calm and unshaken. My plan had worked better than I ever imagined. But I wasn't finished yet, because I had one final reveal waiting for them all. I reached into my bag, and pulled out a slim folder. The leather cover clicked softly as I laid it on the table, sliding it toward Vanessa's stunned parents. "This," I said evenly, "isn't just about betrayal. It's about proof." Vanessa's father hesitated before opening it. Inside were neatly printed photos, receipts, hotel bookings, even screenshots of text messages. Every lie exposed, every secret written in black and white. Her parents leaned in, their faces tightening with each page. Vanessa shot up from her chair, her voice trembling. "You had no right to dig into my life like that." I met her glare without flinching. "You had no right to walk into mine." Her mother's eyes brimmed with tears as she closed the folder with shaking hands. "Vanessa, how could you do this to another woman? To yourself?" My husband finally snapped, his voice sharp. "This is enough. You think humiliating us like this makes you stronger? You're just—" I cut him off with a calm smile. "No, what this makes me is free." The word hung in the air like a final verdict. Vanessa's father pushed the folder back toward me. His voice was low, bitter. "Thank you for showing us the truth. We'll deal with our daughter." Vanessa's lips trembled as she turned to them. "Dad, please." But he wouldn't even look at her. And in that silence, I knew her victory had turned to ash, right in front of the people she most wanted to impress. The rest of the meal was painfully quiet. Vanessa's parents barely touched their plates, their earlier excitement gone, replaced by shame and disappointment. My husband sat rigid, his pride bleeding out with every second of silence. And Vanessa, she looked small, like a child caught stealing, her confidence shattered. I savored every moment, not with gloating, but with clarity. For months, I had doubted myself, wondering if I was overreacting, if maybe I was the problem. But now, sitting there in that elegant dining room, I finally felt steady. I wasn't the fool in this story. They were. At one point, Vanessa's mother leaned toward me, her voice hushed but sincere. "I'm so sorry you had to go through this. You didn't deserve it." Her words were the closure I hadn't known I needed. I simply nodded, my composure unshaken. "No, I didn't." My husband shifted in his seat, his face tightening. He wasn't used to me having the last word. He wasn't used to me owning the room. When dessert was served, I stood. "I think this evening has run its course," I said smoothly, placing my napkin on the table. "Thank you all for joining." Vanessa's parents stood too, avoiding their daughter's pleading eyes. My husband rose, but I held up a hand. "Don't. Stay with your guest." The look on his face, anger mixed with humiliation, was worth every second of planning. I walked out of that restaurant taller than I had in years, the night air cool on my skin. Behind me, I left broken illusions, strained family ties, and two people who thought they had outsmarted me. But the truth was simple. I had won. The drive home felt different that night. For the first time in months, maybe years, my chest wasn't tight. I rolled the window down and let the cool air rush over me, carrying away the remnants of their lies. When I walked into my house, the silence felt comforting instead of empty. No waiting for footsteps at midnight, no pretending not to smell perfume that wasn't mine on his clothes. Just peace. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message from him, "We need to talk." Another followed, "Please don't do this to us." I stared at the screen, almost amused. Us. As if there was ever truly an us left after all the lies, all the nights stolen away. I didn't reply. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine and curled up on the couch. For the first time in so long, I felt like the main character in my own life again, not the supporting role in his secret drama. The next morning, Vanessa's parents called me. Her mother's voice was quiet, heavy. "We've spoken to Vanessa. We're helping her, but please know, we don't excuse what she did. We admire your strength." I thanked her politely, though part of me didn't need their approval. The satisfaction had already been delivered the night before. As I hung up, I realized something important. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming myself, my dignity, my story. The woman who walked into that dinner wasn't the same woman who walked out, and I never wanted to be her again. A week later, the divorce papers were on the table. He tried to fight it, of course, promises, apologies, even anger when nothing else worked. But his words no longer had weight. They couldn't pierce me the way they once did. I signed my name with a steady hand, sliding the papers back across the desk. "This is the last time you get to take anything from me," I told him. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Silence was his final surrender. As for Vanessa, word spread quickly. Her parents made sure she faced the consequences at home, and whispers circled through her polished social circles. She had won a crown but ended up wearing a scarlet letter instead. And me? I wasn't broken. I wasn't defeated. I was free. I moved through my days lighter, laughing at small things again, cooking meals for myself because I wanted to, not because I was waiting for someone who never showed up. Looking back, I realized the dinner wasn't just about exposing them. It was about exposing me, the version of myself who had been buried under doubt, fear, and betrayal. That night, I found her again. So no, Vanessa didn't win. She never stood a chance. Because the woman she thought she could replace was stronger than she ever imagined. And that woman, me, is just getting started.